Afternoon. This is Stan Schumacher, the Deputy Speaker and MLA for Drumheller. The Honorable David Carter, Speaker, is unavoidably away today, and therefore I will be presiding in the Assembly for question period. After question period, the Assembly will resolve into committee of supply for the consideration of the estimates of the Department of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. Good afternoon. Let us pray. O Lord, we give thanks for the bounty of our province, our land, our resources, and our people. We pledge ourselves to act as good stewards on behalf of all Albertans. Amen. Introduction of visitors. The Honorable Deputy Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to introduce, sir, to you and to members of the Assembly some very special visitors we have with us today, seated in your gallery, sir. They are, and I've asked them to stand as I read their name, Mr. Tihokov, Mr. Bratkovsky, Mr. Tatishev, Mr. Debencho, as well as the interpreter Barbara Brown and the consultant with special programs from the Department of Advanced Education, Mr. David Byron. Our visitors, Mr. Speaker, are from the Russia-Soviet Federalist Socialist Republic. The delegation is exploring possibilities for cooperation in a variety of areas addressing science and higher education. They are meeting with officials of Alberta Advanced Education, Technology, Research and Telecommunications, Alberta Research Council, as well as visiting a number of our post-secondary institutions. This is a follow-up, Mr. Speaker, of a visit to open relations with the Soviet Union by our Deputy Premier just a year ago, and we concluded an agreement of understanding in the Soviet Union. Mr. Speaker, they're seated in the members' gallery. I'd ask them now to rise and receive a very warm Alberta welcome. Presenting petitions.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg leave to present the following petitions that have been received for private bills. The petition of the members of the Alberta Home Builders Graduate Institute for the Alberta Home Builders Graduate Institute Constitution Act. The petition of the Council of the Town of Grande Cache for the Grande Cache Tourism and Business Development Authority Act. The petition of the Lutheran Church Canada, the Alberta British Columbia District, for the Lutheran Church Canada, the Alberta British Columbia Corporation Act. The petition of the Alberta College for an act to amend an ordinance to incorporate Alberta College. The petition of the City of Calgary for an act to amend the Calgary Convention Centre Authority Act. The petition of Charmaine L. Toms for the Charmaine L. Toms Legal Articles Act, and finally the petition of the Camrose Lutheran College Corporation for the Camrose Lutheran College Corporation Act.
Excellent.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Jasper, please.
Speaker, I give oral notice that I will be moving this afternoon in Committee of Supply that the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife salary be reduced to the average annual rent paid per square kilometer of forest land by holders of forest management agreements, which is actually $2.03.
Introduction of bills.
The Honourable Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce a bill entitled the Pacific Western Airlines Amendment Act 1991, I guess to be known as number Bill 25. Essentially, Mr. Speaker, there are two amendments in the bill. The first is to increase the limit on share ownership from 4% to 10%. And the second amendment, Mr. Speaker, will require that the registered and head office of Pacific Western Airlines Corporation remain in the city of Calgary.
All right.
The Honourable Minister of Public Works has moved first reading of Bill 25. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 25, Pacific Western Airlines Amendment Act 1991, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Kowalski, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Member for Dunvegan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg leave to introduce Bill number 24, the Municipal Taxation Amendment Act. This act is being reviewed because of municipalities throughout Alberta requesting these amendments.
The Honourable Member for Dunvegan has moved first reading of Bill number 24, the Municipal Taxation Amendment Act 1991. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 24, Municipal Taxation Amendment Act 1991, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Clegg, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Member for Dunvegan.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. It's again a privilege to introduce Bill number 26, amendment to the Planning Amendment Act 1991.
The Honourable Member for Dunvegan has moved first reading of Bill number 26, the Planning Amendment Act 1991. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 26, Planning Amendment Act 1991, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Clegg, is now read a first time.
Move it. The Honourable Member for Bow Valley.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 274, the Senior Citizens Medical Research Foundation Act. Mr. Speaker, this would set up, through lottery money, foundations for medical research for seniors.
The Honourable Member for Bow Valley has moved first reading of the Senior Citizens Medical Research Foundation Act, Bill number 274. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 274, Senior Citizens Medical Research Foundation Act, introduced by the Honourable Member Mr. Musgrove, is now read a first time.
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move the Bill number 24, Municipal Taxation Amendment Act 1991, and Bill number 26, Planning Amendment Act 1991, be placed on the order paper under Government Orders, Bills and Orders.
Having heard the motion of the Honourable Government House Leader, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Tabling returns and reports. Introduction of special guests.
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to, on behalf of my colleague, the MLA for Calgary-Glenmore, Mrs. Myrosh, to introduce 26 students from St. Benedict's School. They are here today for their first visit to the legislature, Mr. Speaker, and I had the pleasure of meeting with them, and they've received a tour, and they're here now to watch the scintillating conversation that will go on in the Assembly this afternoon. They're joined by their teacher, Mrs. Bonnie Jurlink, and parents Jake Elias, Larry Thomas, Elaine Melsness, and Hilda Rufo, and I'd ask them to rise, all of them, and receive the warm welcome of all members of the Assembly.
The Honorable the Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the Assembly 25 students from the New Norway School. They're escorted by two teachers, Ed Martinson and Rob Irvin, and one parent, Grace Johnson. They're seated in the members' gallery, and I'd ask that they rise and receive the cordial welcome of the Assembly.
The Honorable Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of this Assembly 43 students from Mayanock School. They are seated in the public gallery. They are accompanied by teachers Howard Redmond, David Fairchild, and Tracy Louise Miller. I would ask that they now rise and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
The Honorable Member for Red Deer North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to introduce from Camille J. LaRouge High School in Red Deer, a number of students accompanied by adults. And 6 of these students, Mr. Speaker, are Japanese students from Yamate High School in Japan. They're here in Alberta with the Central Alberta Student Exchange. And also to be noted, some of the Red Deer students will be reciprocating the exchange later on this summer, continuing the good relations between Alberta and Japan. I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome to the Assembly.
The Honorable Member for the Honorable Minister of Family and Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure for me to be able to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Legislative Assembly a friend and former colleague of this Assembly, Mr. Speaker. He is the last MLA to represent the provincial constituency of Red Deer. He served from 1982 to 1986, and I'm reminded by the Minister of Agriculture that it took 2 men to replace him. Mr. Speaker, I'd ask Mr. Jim McPherson, seated in your gallery, to rise and receive the warm reception of this Assembly.
The Honorable Member for Edmonton Millwoods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to introduce to you and the other members of the Assembly this afternoon Mr. Naledi Tasiki, who is the Secretary General of the Association of Ex-Political Prisoners of South Africa, who's in Canada on a tour now. He's accompanied by the Executive Director of the International Defence and Aid Fund of South Africa and Canada, Ann Mitchell, as well as Trish Young, who's an active volunteer in Edmonton here with the Canadian Catholic Organization for Development and Peace. I'd ask the 3 of them to stand now and receive our very warm welcome.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The list of victims of the so-called balanced budget seems to keep growing, Mr. Speaker. Last week, students at universities and colleges throughout the province were advised that they were going to get hit with a big tuition increase, and the government at the same time announced that they'd increase the amount of money students can borrow through the Student Finance Board by just enough money to help pay for that increase, not enough money to pay for the changes in ancillary fees that might also accompany those tuition hikes. Today, Mr. Speaker, the students at the U of A discovered that they're going to be hit with an increase of up to 20% in housing charges on campus. Mr. Speaker, this affects working people and their children and their ability to go to university. My question to the Minister of Advanced Education is this: where does he think the students are going to find the extra dollars now to pay for higher housing charges in places that could hardly be described as palatial?
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the honourable member for Edmonton Highlands will recall during the passage of the estimates on Tuesday last that Alberta has a very generous student finance program. Alberta is in the top 3 in Canada in terms of loans available and the second highest in the nation in terms of forgivable grants. Mr. Speaker, this minister is well aware of some of the difficulties students are experiencing today, but I simply reiterate that within the fiscal limitations of government, we think that program is quite frankly adequate.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the point is this. Working class people don't have a lot of money, and a lot of them are afraid about going into debt to get a university education. Right now, they're looking at leaving just from their first degree with a $31,000 mortgage. Does the minister not understand that this is a disincentive for working people and their children to go to university?
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, I think this minister understands fairly well. He spent 2 years at the portfolio full-time to understand the concerns of the students. Our indications, Mr. Speaker, that those achieving a degree, the debt load, that is for university graduates, is not $31,000 but $10,000. And this minister believes that the government has acted in a very responsible way by allowing the lifetime loan limits to rise to a realistic figure. Mr. Speaker, I have to conclude that this government still endorses a policy of controlling tuition fees. They are the second lowest in the nation at the moment. I think in many ways this government displays in more ways than one its very serious commitment in the setting of education and post-secondary education as its high priority.
Well, Mr. Speaker, just to correct the record, the tuition fees are going to double over the next couple of years. Let's get that straight. Now they're looking at rent increases of up to 20% in Hub, Michener Park, Pembina, Garneau, all of the locations on the U of A campus. Does the minister not understand that what he's doing by allowing these policies, basically because of underfunding to the system, is turning back the clock so that only the well-to-do can go to university?
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, this honourable member wants to have it both ways. Last year during the passage of Bill 27, how the member howled that we were infringing on academic freedoms in other areas, including parking lots, by having some control in terms of accountability of the dollars appropriated by this legislature for a post-secondary system. Mr. Speaker, the member can't have it both ways. The institutions are responsible for their residences and the rents they charge. If the honourable member is making representation today that the Board of Governors of the U of A should not have that right, then the honourable member should say so.
The point, the universities and the students are crying.
Order, please. Order, please. The honourable member had her second supplemental. The second main question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the announcements to the changes of fees that will apply to health costs for seniors has come to about $1,000 a year on average. Now, I was at a seniors lodge just an hour ago, Mr. Speaker, and I asked the people I talked to if they agreed with the Premier's statement of last week that they are saying to the government, look, we want to make sure we contribute in this province as well, and we want to pay our way. The people I talked to today didn't agree with that statement, Mr. Speaker, and I wonder if, knowing the real price tag now that it's going to cost seniors out of their pockets, about $1,000 a year, if the health minister agrees with the Premier, or if she's now prepared to admit that the changes are excessive and unwarranted.
Mr. Speaker, I'm certainly aware that in the choices that we made with our budget, that there were some difficult choices to be made. And we are certainly asking as part of those choices that all Albertans share, and in an increased way, in the cost of the provision of health services. We believe that the requests are fair and reasonable, and that they have been well thought out, protecting those on low income regardless of age. And we believe that the adjustments we've recommended to this legislature are reasonable.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Speaker, when the seniors added up, what they're looking at is this. Payments on, through fixed income sources like pensions that don't keep pace with the rate of inflation. They're looking at the GST, which is costing them another 7% out of their pockets. And now they're looking at increases to over-the-counter drugs, to aids to daily living, to dental care, and to home heating. Mr. Speaker, it's going to add up to a lot of money. I'd like to ask the minister if she stands by this government's position that even the seniors who have already paid and paid and paid should have to pay one more time just to live in this province.
Mr. Speaker, seniors in this province have a very broad array of programs which this government really since the 1970s has felt were important parts of protecting a very special group. Many of those programs continue. Some of those programs are being redesigned, and the basis that we looked at it was the ability for all Albertans to access important programs and to protect those on low income regardless of age. The Honourable Acting Leader of the Opposition chooses to ignore the increases that have been provided in the budget for home care, the increases in coverage for high technology, more current contemporary items under the Age Daily Living program, the fact that seniors in nursing homes will no longer have to pay for drug costs and ambulance transfer costs, and the fact, of course, that our seniors pay no health care premiums and no Blue Cross premiums, all of which add up to a wealth of programs which frankly is unequaled across this country.
Mr. Speaker, the National Council on Welfare suggests that a retired person living on all the income it can get from government sources and nothing else, right, just government sources, in Alberta is still going to be living $2,000 below the poverty line. How on earth can this government possibly justify putting their hands into those people's pockets and withdrawing an extra $1,000 from these people?
Mr. Speaker, we've in fact done a very extensive consultation within our own province, because after all, we are a government responsible for the people of Alberta, and certainly our first priority is to look at Alberta issues and Alberta research rather than the national in the first case. We consulted very broadly, of course, through the whole process on the Premier's Commission on Future Health Care, but more specifically on this issue with respect to the Premier's Council on the Status of Persons for the Disabled. And the Honourable Member should be aware, because she's been told on several occasions, that the moves we've made to ensure that the test was on income as opposed to age was one that was very consistent with the recommendations of that very stellar organization that went around this province.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Glengarry, Leader of the Liberals.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, 1990 statistics, Alberta statistics, show that some 300 Albertans got acute care substance treatment, drug treatment, outside of the province of Alberta at a cost of some $4 million to the Alberta taxpayer. That's $13,300 for every person. There is some suggestion, Mr. Speaker, that there are commissions being paid to agents that are routing Albertans to private hospitals for this treatment in the United States. What is even more startling, Mr. Speaker, is that Alberta experts say that a 20 to 30 bed acute care hospital facility doing this kind of treatment could save Albertans some $1.5 million a year. My first question to the minister is this. Given that this matter has been raised a year ago publicly, and given that the minister must have an opportunity now of getting a handle on this, why is it that the minister continues to see taxpayers' monies misspent or squandered to the extent of $1.5 million a year?
Well, Mr. Speaker, to suggest that people are traveling to the United States and admitting themselves to hospitals when they don't require a service is absurd. So let's look at what in fact is going on in our province. The Alberta Health Care Insurance Plan, in accordance with the Canada Health Act, which we all tend to forget, pays for treatments out of province at an Alberta rate that are treatments in a hospital facility by a physician. To assume instantly that those dollars that were identified by the leader of the Liberal Party are for treatment is to make a very massive jump in logic, which I'm not sure we can make. The issue of providing treatment services in Alberta is a very important issue, and one which I'm sure my colleague, the chairman of the Alberta Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission, will want to supplement. But let me just simply say that yesterday in Calgary, along with the member for Calgary-McCall, we officially opened the treatment center for ADAC in that facility. One will soon open in Edmonton for the purpose of treatment, so that the range of programs operated by ADAC will run from the prevention and education programs through to a far more intense treatment capability than we've ever had. But to suggest that we should not allow Albertans and Canadians, as they are allowed under the Canada Health Act, to go outside of this province to access services and pay for it over and above what the Alberta rate would pay is something that would be inconsistent with the Canada Health Act.
Speaker, that clearly was not the question. The minister must have misunderstood or misheard the question. There is no doubt that this treatment is needed. There is no doubt that there are no facilities in Alberta to provide the treatment. Experts in Alberta say that a 20 or 30 bed acute care facility could look after the 300 Albertans. My question is simple. Instead of spending $4 million in the United States, why not spend 2.5 and look after those 300 Albertans right here in the province?
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, in fact, I did answer the question. Because the question was, we should be providing these treatment capabilities within Alberta. In fact, the facility that was opened yesterday is a 20-person facility, or at least it has a potential of having 20 people in the facility, albeit with residential component outside of that facility, in order to provide this treatment model. And frankly, interestingly, and we'll get to it when we get to the ADAC budget, at a cost less than the one that the member is quoting.
Mr. Speaker, is the minister giving us assurance today? Because yesterday we noted that the government wasn't even aware, the premier wasn't aware, that some $3.2 million of federal monies weren't being accessed for treatment and rehabilitation. Will the minister assure us, will she assure us that taxpayers' monies will not be squandered, that Albertans will be looked after in Alberta, and that this facility will be provided to Albertans who need it in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, we have a responsibility in this legislature to commit dollars to programs to account for those dollars being spent, and the honourable member has every right to ask questions as we work through that process. We have also got a responsibility to all Albertans to ensure that they meet their full potential, which is why we have been such an ardent supporter of the ADAC programs in this province, which, interestingly, are celebrating their 40th anniversary of operation in Alberta. So that is a commitment to the people of this province and a commitment to the future of the people of this province. And I would ask the Honourable Chairman of ADAC to please answer the question with respect to federal dollars and coming to the province.
Member for Calgary-McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a portion of the question the leader of the Liberal Party requested an answer to with regard to $3 million that he's suggesting is being squandered. And I would like to set the record straight, Mr. Speaker, because ADAC has accessed every available dollar that is under the agreements that are provided under two programs that we have in place with the federal government. One, Mr. Speaker, is the Vocational Rehabilitation of Disabled Persons Agreement. In the last 3 years, we have accessed some $23.6 million from the federal government. And, Mr. Speaker, there's also an alcohol and drug treatment and rehabilitation program, which is for new programs dealing with adolescents. And, Mr. Speaker, in the last 2 years, we've accessed $805,000. Now, Mr. Speaker, it should be noted, Mr. Speaker, that Alberta has accessed more of those dollars than any other province in Canada. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, because addictions is deemed as a disability, because it's difficult to work when you're under the influence of an alcohol or drug. We continue to access those dollars. And Mr. Speaker, to suggest that we're not accessing all those dollars is irresponsible, number one, and number two, we cannot continue to develop additional programs without further research and time to do them properly to access those dollars. Because once we access those dollars that are available now and the program ends, the province will be on the hook for the full amount.
The honourable member for Highwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions today are to the Interim Minister of Transportation and Utilities regarding the 1990 preliminary traffic statistics released today. Mr. Speaker, statistics come and go, and sometimes cold, hard numbers cover up the real human story. So my question to the Minister, in a year where the government has tightened its belt, what is the bottom line for people in Alberta that might be contained in this report on the issue of seat belts as a factor in safe travel in our province?
Good news. You have good news.
Mr. Speaker, statistics that were released today and made public looking at traffic statistics and traffic collisions in Alberta in 1990 are very encouraging, Mr. Speaker. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the number of fatalities in 1990 as compared to 1989 decreased by 16%. And in real lives, Mr. Speaker, that's a dramatic reduction in the number of people who were killed on our highways in the province of Alberta in 1990s compared to 1989. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, the number of traffic injuries decreased by nearly 10% and the number of traffic collisions decreased by nearly 3%. And I think, Mr. Speaker, that those members of the Assembly and those individuals in the province of Alberta who are advocates of seatbelt legislation, mandatory seatbelt legislation, have certainly proven themselves to be right, because in my perception and my understanding of these statistics, Mr. Speaker, there's absolutely no difficulty in anyone correlating the two. Seatbelts do save lives, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Good news. Mr. Speaker, my supplementary question is also to the Interim Minister of Transportation and Utilities. Does the report address in any way the issue of safety on our secondary roads, which is so important to the people of Highwood, indeed to all of the people in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, one of the I guess negative results of the statistics that were released today basically indicates that fatal collisions in our province, and unfortunately deaths in our province, Mr. Speaker, tend to occur more frequently in rural areas than they do in urban areas. And I would suspect, Mr. Speaker, that there has to be a direct correlation between the quality of the road that we might find in a large part of rural Alberta in terms of roads that may be still graveled and not paved, and roads that may be a little narrower. And Mr. Speaker, this certainly was an understanding that the province had and the government had. In 1989, Mr. Speaker, when the Premier indicated that the province would have as one of its commitments as the government of Alberta that would move dramatically over the decade of the 1990s to the pavement of the secondary road system throughout the province of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, so that all members really understand, the secondary system that the government is talking about is a system of highways in this province that have three numbers attached to them. Secondary Highway 651, Secondary Highway 654. Mr. Speaker, it's indeed sad that the Liberal Party dramatically stood up and said that in fact that this was nonsensical. 80 fewer people died, Mr. Speaker, in 1990 than in 1989. Now, we have a commitment, Mr. Speaker, to safety, and we have a commitment to people in this province, Mr. Speaker, and we must ensure that the highways in this province are safe, Mr. Speaker, so Albertans can live, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Edmonton Kingsley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Mr. Speaker, this government messed up when it offered a $6 million loan guarantee to the Peace River Fertilizer Company when it knew, or at least it should have known, that it was in the middle of a bitter ownership dispute. Now, that ownership dispute has still not been settled. A document obtained by the official opposition from the Land Titles Office indicates that the property that the plant is located on belongs to one Dennis Cox, is controlled by one Dennis Cox of High Prairie, not by the government. So my question to the Minister is this. Since he said yesterday that the company was about to be sold, and yet no one from the government has been in touch with Mr. Cox, how is he going to sell a company that he doesn't own and that whose ownership is in dispute.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member's got to get his facts straight. Mr. Cox has been in constant contact with our office. I wish the honourable members would get their facts straight. We go through this consistent distortion of the facts as it relates to the investments that we've made. We fully acknowledge that we've involved ourselves in a number of risks, and we've involved ourselves so that we can increase the quality of life for Albertans. And we're going to continue to involve ourselves because we're proud. We're proud that we can lead economic growth, that we can lead job creation, that we can lead investment per capita within this province. Unlike the timid little individuals on the opposite, we're going to continue to support the business community so that we in turn can make sure that we have a social climate so that we can provide education and health care costs to those who require it.
Evidently, Mr. Cox has been in touch today then, because as of yesterday, last night, and again this morning, the government had not been in touch with Mr. Cox. So he was going to sell yesterday when he had not been in touch with the owner. Now, the minister keeps trying to say that he is protecting the Alberta $6 million investment in this company, but he's a little short on evidence. Quiet. Given that the prospective buyer of this plant has said that he's not willing to cover the $6 million loan guarantee of the government, and given that one of the former owners of the plant has removed some of the expensive equipment from the plant after it was shut down, and given that the ownership is still not settled, how is this minister going to protect our $6 million investment for the taxpayers?
Bakerville, time is running.
Mr. Speaker, it's obvious to all members of this Legislative Assembly that there's a great deal of confusion in the honourable member from Edmonton Kingsway's mind, which is consistent with the presentations that he has made in this Legislative Assembly during the period of time that him and I have had an opportunity to have dialogue as it relates to the various issues. But for him to suggest that there has been money lost is a total distortion of the facts. Right. Mr. Speaker, we've involved ourselves, as I've indicated, in a number of risk adventures. We're going to continue. We're going to... We're not risk adverse. Order, please. Order. I don't like hearing good news. And because of that, we are the leading province as it relates to economic growth. We have created in excess of 102,000 jobs over the last 5 to 6 years. We've got the highest investment on a per capita basis. We've got one of the finest educated populations in the world, Mr. Speaker. Why is that? That's not an accident, Mr. Speaker. That's because of the determination of this government to ensure that we have a strong economy so that we could provide that social comfort which is required. Honourable members can holler and shout all they want, but I look to the gallery on a daily basis and I see all the young people that come here, the young people that come to this Legislative Assembly, and we've got an obligation to ensure.
The honourable member for Edmonton White Mud.
Mr. Speaker, the minister responsible for lotteries likes to talk at length about his desire to release information. 1 year ago, we received a breakdown of Community Facility Enhancement Program grants by constituencies. At that time, we pointed out that the per capita range from a high of $120 per head for a Tory riding to a low of 19 cents per head for a Liberal riding. The minister has changed his method of reporting grants in a way that we can no longer do such an analysis. Despite numerous written letters and a motion for return, we have still not received this breakdown constituency by constituency. The question to the minister, when will he provide this analysis that we have asked for time after time?
Mr. Speaker, the member said that a year ago that the member had received something. It's unfortunate the member didn't also mention that on the 15th day of March of 1991, that the minister responsible for lotteries, the minister responsible for the administration of the Community Sunday Enhancement Program, also filed in this assembly a complete listing, a second anniversary listing of all the projects, Mr. Speaker. And I repeat the date, Mr. Speaker. The member said a year ago, but he conveniently forgot to mention that on the 15th day of March that all that information was filed. Now, Mr. Speaker, that is part of the written record, the public record of the province of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, copies are in the Legislative Assembly. Any individual in the province of Alberta who would like to have a copy can certainly get one. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it was a few days ago that the provincial treasurer tabled the estimates of the Legislative Assembly, the 1991-92 Legislative Assembly estimates. And Mr. Speaker, if I would draw all the attention of all the citizens of Alberta down to vote number 1.07, Liberal Party Services. The Liberal Party will receive $551,941 for research, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, it would seem to me that if, in fact, the $551,000...
Order, please. Order, please. Supplemental question?
Mr. Speaker, it has been pointed out on a number of occasions that lottery funds are nothing but a Tory cash cow. Can you imagine? You're insulting the cows. Can you imagine a requirement to have your picture taken with the minister or his designate to receive a grant, and big signs, and presentations for government members only, and there's more? Can the minister responsible for lottery...
Is the honourable member getting to his question? There shouldn't be these long introductions to supplemental questions.
Mr. Speaker, can the minister responsible for lotteries inform this House how he finds it acceptable to give government members the right to review and refuse community facility enhancement program grants in their particular riding?
Mr. Speaker, there are 83 members of the Legislative Assembly. Some members are elected to govern and lead, and they go out and say, this is our program. If we have a lottery fund in Alberta, what we will do is transfer all these dollars back to the citizens by way of a bunch of programs. There are other members, Mr. Speaker, who say, well, we disagree with what the government wants to do. They call themselves opposition members, and they say they're opposed to everything. Well, Mr. Speaker, programs are presented by the government. That's the democratic way. So, Mr. Speaker, the government believes in being close to the people. The government members want to go out and talk to people. The government members have done that. Opposition members, Mr. Speaker, consistently and continuously ridicule everything and just want to criticize and condemn and be negative, Mr. Speaker.
And then want to
Mr. Speaker, if the opposition doesn't want to deal with people and talk to people and work with people, that's their choice, but the people should know. And I'm just delighted that the member from Whitemud asked that question in the Assembly today, so that all of the citizens of Alberta who are watching here to this question period today will know, Mr. Speaker, that government members care about them. Government members are prepared to work with the rank and file citizen in this province, and government members are not afraid to meet with...
The honourable member for Bow Valley. Thanks for the cup call,
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Associate Minister of Agriculture.
Honourable member.
My question is to the Associate Minister of Agriculture. And in southern Alberta, I've been hearing from the irrigation districts, they're getting a little concerned about irrigation rehabilitation. So my question is the minister, or has there any decision been made on the financing of irrigation rehabilitation?
Well, Mr. Speaker, certainly I can understand the interests of particularly the members of the legislature from that area, because as members would recall, in March of 1990, the 5-year program for the irrigation rehabilitation program was completed. At that time, we asked for and received a 1-year extension to that program. And over the period of this past year, I have worked with the 13 irrigation districts, the Alberta Irrigation Projects Association, as well as the Irrigation Council to assess the program and to bring back some recommendations for or as to whether there should be a continuance or future funding of that program. Through the very hard efforts of the groups in the irrigation districts, as well as our Irrigation Caucus Committee, there has been recommended to us a 5-year program for irrigation rehabilitation in the 13 districts in southern Alberta.
Well, Mr. Speaker, some of the concerns of the irrigation district is for any long-term decision extended for more than 5 years. Has there been any decision made on long-term financing?
Well, certainly, Mr. Speaker, that was one of the concerns of this government as well as of the districts and Irrigation Council. And in the program, in the 5-year program that we will be initiating year 1 this year, there is a procedure to commit to a long-term funding for the irrigation districts. And I would just simply say that the irrigation districts and their association have worked very hard to look at the equity among the districts because some of the districts were further advanced in their rehabilitation than others. And they are concerned that these districts had very little work done, whereas some were closer to completion, and hence led to the discussion of some long-term secure funding. So through the efforts of the irrigation districts and AIPA, Irrigation Council, we feel that we have initiated the program this year, taking into account those concerns and addressing some of the concerns on a long-term assured funding for irrigation rehabilitation.
Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, it's now perfectly clear that the implementation of the GST has proven just as confusing, just as unfair, and just as ill-conceived as consumers across Alberta predicted, and moreover that the replacement, in particular of the manufacturer sales tax by the GST, has been carried out unfairly by some retailers. My question is for the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. Given that the rationale of the GST was ostensibly to replace the hidden federal sales tax, does the government approve of the present level of disclosure of the GST to consumers in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member asks, of course, about a federal program which we have opposed on this side of the House. I would say that we believe in full disclosure of all of the costs to consumers in this tax area or in others.
Mr. Speaker, there is an area of jurisdiction for the province with respect to the regulation of prices and making sure that there is clearly and fully shown on the retail price tag or at the cash register the true price of the goods and the true price of the tax. Will the minister please tell this assembly precisely what, if any, action he is considering taking in this area and include a timetable indicating when Alberta consumers can expect the same protection accorded to consumers in other provinces?
Mr. Speaker, I would repeat that the government has opposed the introduction of the tax, which is now a fact of law in the country. We have a court case that is in place to address that question. With regards to the information on the sales slip, we did consider that option and have not proceeded with it simply because of the onerous costs that would be inherent for the small businesses in the province and the confusion that could further result that already has been great as a result of the introduction of this particular tax.
The honourable member for West Loch Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Agriculture that is not dressed in Liberal red. With respect to the soil conservation week, that the pious utterances the government made last week about how they were trying to conserve soil. Yet, Mr. Speaker, just north of town, we have had the last year prize farmland go under to industrial gas plant expansion, and also just now they're going to convert parts of the beautiful Sturgeon Valley, number 1 and 2 farmland, to housing. My question to the minister is, in view of the fact that the Minister of Environment has the authority to stop the use of farmland for something outside of farming if it's environmentally unsound, the Minister of Wildlife can stop farmland from being developed if it is it's going to hurt wildlife. Why does not this government give the Minister of Agriculture the authority to stop farmland from being used for something else? He's the only one left without any authority.
I gathered from what I could hear of the opening comments that the honourable member was tying this somehow or other to the Soil Conservation Week announcement of last week. The soil conservation programs being under the domain of the Associate Minister, I'm sure she would like to make some comments.
I would certainly make some comments on the opening comments, but I'm not sure that the question, if there was one, really can be answered. But the conservation initiatives in this province are extensive, and as the member would know, the Alberta government signed an agreement with the federal government in a year and a half ago, which committed dollars to soil conservation in this province for a 3-year period. And we are now undergoing an interim evaluation of that program to look to whether it should be changed, extended, because this government does have a very strong commitment to soil conservation. And I don't think that that can be disputed by the amount of funds that we discussed in our agricultural estimates last Thursday night to this commitment. As to how the development of residential on farmland ties in with our soil conservation initiative, I am not entirely certain, Mr. Speaker. I'd be happy to try.
Member, can clarify that in a supplemental. Supplemental question, honourable member?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what to do. If she doesn't think... If she has no idea that converting farmland to industrial development or housing isn't destroying farmland, I don't know where it's impossible. That maybe I'll go on to something else then, to the minister, either the Bonnie or Clyde, whichever one is going to answer this one, Mr. Speaker. This was with respect to the GRIP program. Why is it...
Order, please, honourable member. The rules are quite clear. There is a main question, and then there's a supplemental question to the main question on the same subject, not an entirely different subject.
Your point is well taken. In the GRIP, for the conservation of land, this government has, in spite of preaching conservation of land, recently approved a GRIP program, Mr. Chairman, that allows marginal land to be put into wheat production instead of taking it out of production. How can the minister countenance the fact that this latest insurance scheme is causing farmland to be eroded and taken away rather than preserved?
Well, I think that it's interesting that the honourable member would take a program that was designed to offer stabilization to a sector of our industry, the grains and oilseed sector, which is in dire need of this stabilization this year, and turn it into a negative on conservation. Because clearly the member has not looked at the conditions of the revenue protection plan option under crop insurance. And we are concerned about land being taken out of forages and put into production, and hence there is a condition in the program that a producer may only insure 10% variance above his past
3-year record if he has been farming for 3 years, or in 1990 if that was his year to begin, which clearly puts some conditions on the number of acres that a farmer can insure. I would also remind the member that under the soil conservation agreement that was signed, that there is a permanent cover program which encourages producers to put marginal land, class 5 and 6, into permanent cover. This is a part of an initiative.
I'm sorry to interrupt the Honourable Minister, but this question has gone on too long. There's too many members waiting. The Honourable Member for Athabasca Lac-La-Biche.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. There has been some concern over the province's capacity to provide enough seedlings for reforestation in Alberta. Of course, the opposition, for an example, argues that the fewer bureaucrats mean fewer trees. Of course, you could never listen to the opposition. They don't make sense too often. For an example, the Minister of Rottenwood over here wants to cut the Forestry Minister's salary. A minister who is involved in the creation of thousands of jobs in Alberta. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister, the Honourable Minister, is could the Minister state for the record whether or not our Department of Forestry has the capacity to ensure a full and a complete reforestation policy for the future of Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, the answer to the question is the answer to the question is yes, and my department's seedling supply strategy will absolutely ensure that we can meet all our reforestation commitments because of the industry development.
My supplement, Mr. Speaker, relates to the growing number of private nurseries in this province. Is it not true that the private enterprise nurseries, such as Alberta Nurseries and Seeds and Trestle Tree Farms of Whitecourt, are eager to increase their production capacity to supply us with seedlings?
Mr. Speaker, with the expansion that's taking place at Pine Ridge right now, which I'll speak about in my estimates, in addition to the starter program for many small operators in the province, we also will be announcing very soon our seedling supply strategy, which I might say will certainly open up opportunities for many growers.
Honourable Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Health. While the Premier's $200 million Alberta Family Life and Substance Abuse Foundation will be established this year, ADAC, the Alberta Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission, which we heard today is celebrating its 40th anniversary, have received a funding increase less than inflation and has announced that it will be cutting back on several of its programs, including the Northern Addiction Center in Grand Prairie and a halfway house in Edmonton, and education and prevention, which have been decreased by 11%.
Just a question.
I'm sorry. How can the Premier possibly, or how can the Minister possibly justify this senseless cutback in ADAC programs which have served Albertans so well?
Mr. Speaker, as the member herself acknowledges, it's not a cutback. It's in fact an increase in the ADAC budget. I think we can get more into the issues with respect to ADAC when we visit those areas. But I guess the way we've approached the budget, and health is no exception, is that we all had to look at how we could be part of presenting to the people of this province a balanced budget. The decisions that were made in ADAC we believe are appropriate ones for the times and will not result in the curtailment of services. In fact, the services will be enhanced for people in this province, and of course will be complemented by the new Alberta Family Life and Drug Abuse Foundation that will be established.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there may not have been a cutback in the budget, but there have been cutback in services. Mr. Speaker, in view of the fact that the recent Causey Commission report confirmed that substance abuse is a major and growing problem amongst Native people, how does the Minister justify the elimination of funding to the Jimmy Wolf Trail Memorial Society, which runs a halfway house for Native peoples?
Mr. Speaker, I'm Rather than provide an incomplete answer to the member, I would ask that we take the question on notice and the chairman of ADAC respond in detail to it tomorrow when he returns to the House.
Chair apologizes to the 5 members who were left at the gate for not being able to keep the question period moving faster, but maybe we'll get back to normal tomorrow. Orders of the day. Point of order.